These bells ring, and the room grows still. And now we must say the one thing that sounds simple enough to be child's play, and yet proves to be the sternest work of a lifetime. Stand porter at the door of thought. Not sometimes. Not when conditions are pleasant. Not only when you feel holy and the air is sweet. But hour by hour, yes, minute by minute, stand, keep the door, and permit nothing unreal to cross the threshold. Watch and pray, said the Master, that ye enter not into temptation. If your spirituality has words and your watch has thoughts, you will imagine you are doing well. But I tell you, this is the hardest simple practice I can set before you, because spiritual healing is done without words and without thoughts. And that is precisely where the difficulty you dread begins. Oh, it sounds as if I am letting you off easy. No affirmations, no denials, no debates with the wind, only silence. But you will discover before this hour is over, and before this week is over, that the silence, which is presence, is not the sleep of the senses. It is the vigilance of spirit. Be still and know that I am God. That is the promise. But the price for that knowing is to be still in such a way that you do not admit a single impersonal suggestion to sit down and tell you its story. You must refuse its name, its history, its remedies, and its fears. And that, my friends, is where the arm of flesh, nothingness though it is, struts like a peacock at the gate, shouting its claims. You will be tempted to argue, to diagnose, to improve, to correct. Oh no, the porter does not converse with the street. He attends the threshold, briefly, cleanly, without drama. Let me say it plainly. My practice is to keep the door empty of words and thoughts, so that presence may fill the house. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Your heart, your inner sanctuary, is the door. Keep it, and keep it not by contest, but by refusal. The world, universal hypnotism, the carnal mind brings a parade of masks and declares, I am fear, let me in. I am pain, let me in. I am lack, let me in. I am blame, let me in. What shall the porter say? Nay. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. Not a sermon at the threshold, not a righteous lecture, only refusal of entry, because the one who truly is has not sent them. I do not mean be harsh with persons. There are no persons at your door, only suggestions. Do not judge them. Do not fix them. Do not bless them with human sympathy. Neither do I condemn thee. This refusal is not moral indignation. It is spiritual hygiene. You are not sent to reprimand the wind. You are not sent to repair the dream. You are sent to stand and to keep. What crosses that threshold is what will fill the house. If you let in tales of the market, debates of the pundits, rehearsals of yesterday's injuries, pious speeches about two powers wrestling God and the problem, then you will fill the house with echoes and call it prayer. You will not be praying. You will be entertaining. The porter closes the door on entertainment. Someone will say, but surely a few true thoughts? Ah, see how subtle the temptation is. A few true thoughts are still thoughts. And spiritual healing is done without words and without thoughts. Thoughts are of time. Presence is eternal. Thoughts belong to the arm of flesh, even when they wear scripture on their sleeve. Presence is the living word before letters. When thought knocks, let it pass by. When memory knocks, let it pass by. When imagination knocks with shining robes and says, I will help, Let it pass by. The porter doesn't quarrel with them. The porter simply does not unlatch the door. Now, do not imagine I am setting for you an angel's task while I stand exempt. I have to keep my own threshold. I can slide by this hour with difficulty, but I will get by because I am not arguing with the street. I am not telling it what it is. I am resting in what is. And when you fail, and you will fail a dozen times a day at the beginning, do not run after the trespasser with a broom. Return to the post. Return to the quiet. Gird up the loins of your mind, as the apostle said, and take your place again, gently, firmly, as if no lapse had occurred. The porter's power is his consistency, not his brilliance. What is the promise of such severity? Only this: the hush that announces God is in his holy temple, and all flesh is silent before him. The price? You may not indulge the luxury of story. You may not take counsel of fear. You may not entertain two powers, even for a noble minute. You will have to set a watch upon your lips, and harder still upon your inner speech. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Keep the door of your thoughts as well, for every uninvited word you allow to nest there hatches a brood of troubles. And then you will come to me for remedy for the troubles you invited. Stand. Do not invite. I make you no earthly promises. I do not promise fame, comfort, or a well-padded humanhood. I promise you the kingdom that does not come by observation, and the light that floods a single eye. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. A single eye is a kept door. A divided eye is a circus. Keep the eye single by refusing the spectacle. Be brief with the world. Be long with God. And then, though the wind beats upon the shutter and the rain hammers the roof, there will be a stillness at the center, and from that stillness the issues of life will flow unlabored. You ask, where shall I begin? At once, in this breath. Seat yourself back of the noise, back of the forehead, back of the opinions you treasure, and take the post. When something comes saying, I am, and its name is not God, you will know what to do. Do not embrace it. Do not strike it. Do not dress it in theology. Let it be the nothing it declares itself to be by needing your consent to live. Then wait. Wait until the presence that needs no consent stirs of itself. The house is God's. The door is yours to keep. Be the porter. Let nothing false in. Keep the door until silence takes the chair and governs the room. And when silence reigns, you will find that you have not been holding the post at all. Spirit has been holding you, and the door is opened inward to the eye that is the true door. Now, if you will sit back of the forehead again, you will see why I have insisted upon this severe simplicity, because there are broadly 3 ways men try to get well: faith healing, mental healing, and spiritual healing. And 2 of them will weary you with their promises and scarcely touch the root, while the 3rd will seem to do nothing at all and yet shatters the dream when it descends. Let us be honest. Faith in a concept of God has some effect, about 5% perhaps. Mental treatment, mind over mind or matter, can jostle appearances and rearrange the deck chairs. Yes, but spiritual healing is done without words and without thoughts, and that will not flatter your cleverness, because there is nothing for your cleverness to do. Faith first. You believe very hard in a God imagined in the head. You petition. You repeat holy names as if the syllables could oil the hinges of heaven, and sometimes there is a lift. I do not ridicule it. But hear me. That lift when it comes, does not come because belief muscled its way up a ladder and knocked on the throne. It comes because, despite the noise, a moment of inward yielding allowed the presence to touch consciousness. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. The belief thinks it climbed. It only stopped climbing long enough for God to be God. And when it does not work, you blame your faith. You blame your sin. You blame the devil. You blame your practitioner. Blame is the child of two powers, but the issue is simpler. Belief about God is not God realized. Mental healing next. You take the mind by the collar and you preach to it. You are spiritual. You are perfect. You have no pain. You have no lack. And your patient, who does not exist as a patient at all, must sit at the receiving end of your sermon. Oh, I have no quarrel with good words, but I am not sent to bang at your mind or mine. That is the arm of flesh nothingness arguing with its own echo. At best, mental treatment turns a nightmare of wolves into a dream of doves. The sleeper is still asleep. To be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Do you see? I have not made carnal mind the opposite of divine mind. I refuse its status. Mortal mind is a term denoting nothingness. If you set your so-called divine arguments against a so-called mortal condition, you have two powers locked in friendly combat. Friendly, but futile. Now, spiritual healing. This is where you will part company with many friends and most of your habits. Because here there is no assent of belief, no employment of technique, no arrangement of sacred thoughts. There is only stillness until presence acts. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and think about God. Not be still and furnish God with an agenda. Be still and know when the hush comes, not a trance, not a swoon, but that alert silence, which is its own witness, the spell of appearance begins to break of itself. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Might is belief. Power is technique. Spirit is presence. You ask, how then do you help? You do not help. You are helped. I, if I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me. Do not try to lift your patient, your bill, your chest. Allow yourself to be lifted into that altitude of awareness where the one is realized as all. Then the drawing takes place, the harmonizing influence radiates, and you may not even know it until after the fact. Peter and John did not give the lame man at the gate a lecture in anatomy or a catechism in doctrine. They said, such as I have, give I thee. And there was a rising. What had they? Not sentences, not a medical dictionary. They had that quickened awareness, and it drew. Let me tell you how this looks in the plain day. A call comes. They say, stop right there. They who? It is the street at your door, wanting an audience. I do not permit a parade of details. I hear enough to know what mask the hypnotism is wearing today. Sickness, fear, lack, and then I close the outer ear. 3 minutes is plenty. Why? Because if I allow the story to fill the house, I must empty it before presence can sit down. So we end the words, and I sit, and you can sit where you are, and we wait. No words. No thoughts. Often, there is only a soft awareness that the room is no longer noisy inside. Sometimes the breath comes of itself. Sometimes nothing sensible at all. And then I go on about the day. Hours later, a note arrives. The fever passed. The interview opened. The apology came unforced. Whether I knew it or not is unimportant. And they rested in his word. Now, Do not let your impatience dress itself in spiritual clothing and say, yes, yes, but what can I do? Nothing. That is the cross for the personal mind, and it is also its liberation. Refuse to feed appearances with the bread of your belief or the meat of your argument. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still does not mean become lazy. It means do not enter the combat zone of thought. The moment you begin to help, you have created a helper and a helped, a sick one and a well one, a lack and a supply, two powers. Before we pray, yes, even before that, we must let the twonis fall into the sea. But that is our next labor. For now, rest in the first. No words, no thoughts, presence, or nothing. I know how naked that sounds. The mind would prefer a list. 10 affirmations at sunrise, 6 denials at noon, a verse at bedtime. Lists soothe time. Presence dissolves time. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. Neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there. It is within you, but not as a thought you clutch within you, as the eye that witnesses quietly, unexcited, unafraid. Sit there. When fear knocks, you remember your post, and you do not argue. When pain shouts, you do not soothe it with phrases. When lack whimpers, you do not finance it with worry. You stand. And sometime now or at some unforeseen hour, the hush arrives, and with it, without trumpet, the act of God. So the foundation is laid. Healing is never the ascent of belief or the skill of mind. Healing is the descent of presence. Our part is refusal and receptivity. Refuse the theater at the door. Receive the king in the house. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, not as a boast, but as a realized fact in the silence, and then the captives find themselves free. The blind see what was always present, and the acceptable year of the Lord is now. We do not announce it, we abide it, and we let the stillness say amen. Now we come to the work that most offends pride, because it strips us of our favorite toys, analysis, accusation, and the little satisfactions of being right. If presence heals without words and without thoughts, then what is it we are refusing at the door? What is this parade that forever seeks admission? Name it, and you have deprived it of half its seeming strength. Name it rightly, and you have deprived it of all. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Not at the branches, not at the leaves with their temporary rustle, but at the root. Our adversary is not a person, not a body, not a bank balance, not a memory. Our adversary, if we must use that language, is universal hypnotism, the carnal mind, the second creation, an impersonal suggestion passing itself as your life and mine. It is a dream that requires a dreamer's consent. Withdraw consent and it collapses into what it always was, nothingness. Do not flinch at the word hypnotism. I do not mean a stage trick with swinging watch chains. I mean that universal belief, inherited and circulated, that there are powers apart from God, causes apart from spirit, minds apart from mind. This is Paul's carnal mind, enmity against God, not subject to the law of God. Neither indeed can be, not because it is powerful, but because it is nothing in the first place, a term denoting nothingness. With him is an arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles. The arm of flesh, this self-assertive parade of appearances, is nothingness. Do not respect it. Do not fear it. Do not attack it. Call it by its right name and keep the door. You see at once why I insist you refuse personalization. The moment you assign the discord to a person, to yourself, to your neighbor, to a parent, to an enemy, you have rooted it in a false identity and set the stage for blame. And with blame comes the old twoness, a sinner and a judge, a sick one and a healer, a debtor and a collector. Jesus was asked, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And the answer, as clear as light in the morning, neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. Do you catch it? He pulled the root out. No personal cause, no personal condemnation, so that the manifestation of God could appear. Lay the axe at the root means precisely this. Do not fiddle with the branches, symptoms, histories, temperaments. Refuse the lie of personhood as cause. Judge not, that ye be not judged, not because we ought to be polite, but because judgment personalizes hypnotism and nails it to a face and a name. I know how cunning the parade is. A letter arrives, 4 pages, single-spaced, and it says, my husband did, my employer said, the doctor found, my childhood taught, and the temptation is to be compassionate in the human sense and read every line, weep at the proper paragraphs, and then oil the hurt with spiritual-sounding thoughts. Oh no, that is entertainment dressed in charity. I am not condemning the writer. I am refusing the story as cause. And if I must reply at all, it is only to ask for the first sentence, the barest mask the hypnotism is wearing today, and then I close it and sit. Why? Because the story is branch, and I am sent to the root. The branch will always ask for pruning. The root, once met as nothingness, ceases to push up the lie. Let me tell you how this works, when it works, truly. A man came with a rash in a lawsuit. Oh yes, 2 branches sprouted from one root. And he wished to tell me how unjust the opposing counsel was, how poisonous the creams were, how long it had lasted, and what the specialists had said. I let him spend 1.5 minutes because I am human. And then I said, that will do. I did not correct him. I did not glorify him. I did not condemn him. I withdrew from the person in front, and I sat back as the witness, and I named the appearance, not aloud, not as a formula, but within. Universal hypnotism, arm of flesh, nothingness, the second creation. I refused the courtroom and the skin as causes. I refused the adversary as person. I waited until the hush stole in, and that was all. A week later, he reported that the case had been resolved without trial and the skin was clear. Did my thought accomplish it? Spiritual healing is done without words and without thoughts. The spell broke where it started, in consciousness, at the root. He and the lawsuit and the rash had never been causes. Suggestion had been cause. And when it was treated as nothingness, the effects vanished. Now you might say, but surely there are real conditions. Look, feel, measure. Yes, yes. In the dream, the wolves have teeth and the doves coo sweetly. And when you are asleep, it is all very persuasive. But to be spiritually minded is life and peace. And spiritual mindedness refuses the 2nd chapter of Genesis as creation. In the beginning, God created, finishes the whole of truth, complete, good, very good. Then the Adam dream, the deep sleep, begins, and nowhere does it say he woke up. Our work is not inventing a new creation. Our work is awakening to what is and declaring the dream to be what it is. Mesmerism. If I fight the serpent in the garden as if it had power, I have made 2 powers and will get bitten for my courtesy. If I call it a talking snake in a dream and keep still, I am unharmed. So set the method in your heart as a law. When any discord presents itself, bodily fear, lack, blame, injury, injustice, first refuse its person. Second, refuse its history. Third, refuse its remedies as cause. And finally, lay the axe at the root by naming it what it is. Universal hypnotism, the arm of flesh nothingness. Do not preach at it. Do not denounce it with heat. A simple nay at the door, and turn to the silence. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, and therefore we do not wrestle at all. We witness the dissolving of suggestion in the light of one. Someone will protest, isn't this hard on people? Oh no, this is the gentlest mercy. To tell a man he is sick because of his sins, or poor because of his stupidity, or unlucky because of his stars, that is cruelty. To withdraw blame and meet the root is nothingness, that is compassion. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Not a sentence of doom, but the lifting of the sense of cause from the person to the nothingness where it belongs. And in that lifting, the power to sin no more appears of itself. Therefore, when you take your post in the next hour and a knock comes, I am fear, I am pain, I am lack, I am blame. Do not invite them in to tell their genealogy. Do not slam the door in anger either. Stand and let your communication be nay, nay. Then, silently, inwardly, lay the axe at the root. Not me, not mine, not person, not power, hypnotism, arm of flesh, nothingness. And abide until the hush testifies. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. When the root is met, the branches forget to exist. Before you pray, before a single syllable rises or a single thought is offered, make this your first obedience. Dissolve the belief in two powers. That is the barrier. That is the only barrier. If you come to the altar with a God to help and a problem to be helped, you have already fashioned two. You will be tempted to pit divine mind against mortal mind, to rally a bright army of holy phrases against a dark army of symptoms and statistics. Oh no. I have not made carnal mind the opposite of divine mind. I refuse its status. Mortal mind is a term denoting nothingness. To set God against nothing is to dignify the nothing and to delay the hush. The first purification is the refusal of twoness. Do you remember the Master's plain instruction? Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, first be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Do not let your piety run past those words. Before prayer, reconcile. Not by human apology alone, though that may come when it must, but by withdrawing from the inner courtroom where you have a plaintiff and a defendant, a right and a wrong, a winner and a loser. Make peace with your brother in the one place where peace is born, in the recognition that there are not two powers, two minds, two lives at variance, but one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. When that oneness is felt even as a small spark, the altar is clean, and prayer becomes not speech but realization. Now, how do you do this without turning it into another technique? You sit back of the forehead, as we have been learning. You stand porter, and instead of barring only the ugly guest, fear, pain, lack, you bar the handsome twin, as well, hope, pride, personal triumph. Yes, release fear of failure and release hope of success. Hope and fear are one rope tied at both ends to the same post of twoness. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. A single eye is an eye undistracted by outcomes. Resist not evil. Do not enter combat with it, and resist not good as a personal acquisition. Let both pass and stand in the one. You will find, if you are honest, that much of your praying has been bargaining. Oh God, do this. Oh God, not that. Clean that altar. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. A God called sickness is a God. A God called recovery is also a God, if it is a condition you pursue apart from realization. We are not praying for conditions. We are resting in cause, and cause is one. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Might is the pressure of your fear. Power is the tension of your hope. Spirit is the quiet that remains when both are laid down. Someone will say, but surely I must take my stand against error. Take your stand, yes, but understand where you stand and what you stand in. You do not stand as a private soldier with a private sword. You stand in one power, and in that standing there is nothing to swing at. Agree with thine adversary quickly, not by conceding it as a power, but by conceding that, as suggestion, it has no law, no life, no principle, and therefore nothing in you answers to it. You agree that it is nothing, and the quarrel ends before the hearing begins. That is reconciliation. That is purification. I have made a small rule for myself, and you may borrow it. I do not pray until the twonis has melted. If I am still fearing a negative or grasping at a positive, I keep the door. I do not go into the sanctuary. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, sometimes 10, and then a soft relinquishment. No words, no thoughts, but a sense that the controversy has been dismissed. Then prayer happens of itself. I do not make it happen. I discover it happening. I, if I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me. The lifting is the purification. The drawing is the harmonizing influence of realized one. Whether the body or the bank or the relationship comes into concord is secondary. The one concord is primary. God realized. A mother called in a white heat. The fever is rising. Pray hard. Pray hard? That is the language of two powers. I said only, put down the receiver. And I sat not to fight a fever, not to plead a case, but to find out whether I still had a God called fever and another called recovery doing battle on my altar. Oh, I found them there, cloaked in my sympathy. I laid the axe at that root. Two powers nothingness. Mortal mind nothingness. Arm of flesh nothingness. And I waited until the hope and fear both lost their grip, and in their place a single quiet shone. That was all. Later, she reported, without rhetoric, it broke. Whether I knew it or not is unimportant. And they rested in his word. Do not imagine this is harshness. This is the gentlest mercy you can bestow upon yourself and your world, to remove from them the insult of being causes. Your brother is not your cause. Your symptom is not your cause. Your economy is not your cause. God is cause. God is one. The rest is appearance. When you feel tempted to use truth against error, catch the seduction using truth as a club assumes a second thing to hit. Truth has no opposite. Light does not wrestle darkness. It appears, and darkness is found to be nothing. Let light appear, purify before prayer. So, when you take your post in the next hour, and something within says, now pray, do not rush in with shining words. First ask, is there any twonis left in me? Am I braced against an evil or leaning toward a good? If so, stand still. Say your nay to both sides of the coin. And wait until the coin itself is recognized as dream currency with no purchase in the kingdom. Then the altar is pure, and the offering is not yours at all. It is God's presence acting as your very awareness. One power, one life, one mind. When that is known, even a little, prayer is no longer asking, it is beholding, and beholding is enough. Now we come to the most intimate shift of all, and it will feel like losing your last refuge if you have been living as a personality trying to be spiritual. You have been standing porter at the door of thought. Good. Now find out from where the porter stands. Because if you imagine yourself at the threshold, sword in hand, facing down the street, you will grow tired and fierce. The porter's true post is at the back of the house. I am back here, do you hear it? Back here, not out there in the traffic of scenes and sentences. I am back here, and I witness what appears out there. As the witnessing eye, I am not in the battle. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Spirit governs the scene. The scene does not govern spirit. Sit for a moment, back of the forehead. Yes, and notice the difference between the one who watches and the one who is watched. There is a body that stirs, a thought that narrates, a feeling that rises like weather. But back here, there is a presence, untroubled. If you try to heal from the front row, from the body that stirs, from the mind that narrates, you are already in the dream, wrestling its shadows. But if you slip to the back of the house, a curious reversal takes place. The house is no longer your identity. It is a theater. The stage may present a tragedy at noon and a comedy at dusk, but you are not the actor. Before Abraham was, I am. Not the aged man, not the youthful man, not the sick man, not the successful practitioner. I am. To live, so you must die daily. I do not mean funerals. I mean relinquishment. I die daily, said Paul. And this is the only death required, the daily death to humanhood, good or bad. Do not cradle your virtues as identity any more than your vices. Do not pin your name on your symptoms any more than your successes. Good humanhood and bad humanhood are two buttons on the same coat, and the coat is the Adam dream. Lay it down. Die to the one that boasts of health, and to the one that moans of pain, to the one that counts its coins, and to the one that counts its lacks. Your life is not in the buttons. Your life is hid with Christ in God. And now hear the reversal that the world calls folly and the spirit calls truth. You are not well because the body is well. The body is orderly because you exist in God. Do not reverse the order. The life is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment. You do not live because the heart behaves. The heart behaves because life is. You do not think because the brain sparks. The brain sparks because mind is. You do not prosper because the market smiles. Appearances fall into place because being is one and indivisible, and you are that eye which witnesses. In him we live and move and have our being. The scene never confers life on spirit. Spirit confers order on the scene. I know how persuasive the senses are. The hip aches, the breath shortens, the bill waits, the neighbor speaks sharply, and at once the persona flies to the front door, armed with explanations. Call him back, get thee behind me, not as an insult to yourself, but as a placement. Get thee behind me back here where I am. As you retire inwardly, refuse to carry your name, your age, your diagnosis, your record. Refuse even your pious title, healer or student. Come as the anonymous witness of God. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life. Do you see what template Scripture has left for you? It is not genealogy you need. It is identity. Melchizedek appears as the type of your true I, not traceable to matter or process, not explainable by dates and diets, not subject to the morning news, without father, without mother, not despising parents, but declaring that true life takes not its rise from flesh. Without beginning of days, no birth certificate can define you. Without end of life, no certificate can dismiss you. This is not poetry. It is your address, back of the house. Now someone says, but my pain is in the body, back here or front there. It is the same pain. Oh no, the body is the screen. You are the light in which the screen becomes visible. The pain, as pain, is a message on the screen appearance, hypnotism. If you stand in the movie and argue with the bandits, you will be bruised by cardboard. If you take your seat as the witness and abide until the hush, the projector shifts of itself. The picture dissolves. The master did not say, I, of my personal thought, heal these conditions, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. And again, I and my Father are one. He placed himself, his conscious identity back here in one, and let the scenes conform. I will tell you how this looks on a Tuesday. A breath tightens. The old reflex leaps to declare my asthma, my nerves, and to reach for the props. Instead, you withdraw one step, not defiance, not neglect, but placement, and you say nothing, you let the name fall. You refuse to volunteer to be the sufferer. You sit back of the house and witness. Often there is a moment when the whole room feels like it exhales. A weight drops out of the chest that had never belonged to the chest. Perhaps the body quiets at once. Perhaps it plays out its story for a while. But the governance has shifted. Spirit governs the scene now. Not the scene, spirit. And in that governing, the edges of the sensation fade like fog before the sun, not because you tamed it, but because you were not in it. Keep this simplicity when you face the shining temptations too. A compliment arrives. A success blooms. A reputation swells, and the persona is eager to own it. Die daily there as well. Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is, God. This protects you from the subtle bondage of favorable weather. If you identify with applause, you must identify with silence. Be Melchizedek in anonymity, and the house remains quiet. Now, I am not advising you to become a stone in your own life. I am asking you to become the witness. From this seat, obedience becomes natural. Compassion becomes clean. Action becomes unhurried. You will still answer the phone, pay the bill, set the bone, write the letter, but you will not do it as a troubled actor whipped by the scene. You will find yourself moved. For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. Led, not showed, and the outer order will testify, sometimes quickly, sometimes quietly, that cause is one and effect is harmony. So take your post again, but this time, know where you stand. Back here, out there, a world. Back here, I. Out there, a scene. Back here, spirit. Refuse the invitation to climb onto the stage in costume, and hold your peace until the presence announces itself. When it does, you will discover the sweetest knowledge on earth. I was never in the battle, and still the victory is sure. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Now, a house does not keep itself. If you are to stand porter, you must have a rule book, because sentiment will betray you, and sympathy, untaught, will open the door to the very thing you mean to refuse. This is not harshness. This is love and order. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Let the same be said of thought. The first rule is brevity. Guard the gate by brevity. I do not permit the telephone call beyond 3 minutes. Not because I am busy with better people. I am busy with God. 3 minutes are ample to hear a name and the mask the mesmerism is wearing today. And then the line is closed so that silence can act. In the multitude of words, there wanteth not sin. And you may translate sin as separation, as two powers rehearsed until they fill the house. Keep it brief. End quickly. Return to stillness. You will discover, if you will adopt this holy economy, that 9/10 of what comes to you is the dream pleading for narrative rights. It wishes to be believed. It wishes pages. It wishes to enroll you as co-author of its chapters. Refuse the contract. Ask for a single sentence. Who is calling? What is the first name the suggestion is using? Then stop. Do not take the bait of diagnosis, history, prognosis. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. A simple yes to the presence of God. A simple no to the parade at the threshold. Every extra word is an invitation to the hypnotism to lay its luggage in your hall. You think you are being kind by listening to the whole tale. I tell you, you are being unkind to the one before you because you are granting cause to that which has none. Do not feed the dream with minutes and adjectives. The second rule follows the first. After every contact, immediate stillness. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, shut it. Do not linger on the porch of courtesy. Do not rehash what was said. Do not imagine how it might turn out better if only. Close the door and sit. No words. No thoughts. Be still and wait until the release is felt. Sometimes it is a soft dropping of breath. Sometimes a barely perceptible hush. Sometimes nothing you could sell as an experience, only a knowing that the controversy has ended in you. That is enough. And they rested in his word. If you do not feel that release, remain. Discipline yourself against the itch to do something, to send a text, to consult a book, to think a brighter thought. Wait. The porter's work is not to brighten the street. The porter's work is to keep the house for God. Third, refuse the details of the dream. Do not allow them to enter. I have said elsewhere and say now, when a 4-page letter arrives, I read the first sentence only, not because I am cold, but because I am sent to the root. If the sentence says panic, I fold the letter and I sit. If it says money, I fold and I sit. If it says lawsuit or cancer or loneliness, the same. You may be tempted to think that if you knew every contour, you could think a more accurate thought. Oh no. Spiritual healing is done without words and without thoughts. The more exact the drama, the more real the dream will become to you. Your rule book must protect your simplicity. You are not fighting anything. You are not fixing anything. You are refusing the second creation as cause and abiding until presence proves itself as the only actor, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Now you will ask, does this not seem unfeeling? Listen to me. Boundaries without blame. That is the fourth rule. I never condemn the sufferer, neither do I condemn thee. I do not rebuke them for tears, or for fright, or for having believed the newspaper. But I do not indulge the appearance. Compassion is not collusion. I have no interest whatsoever in what they are coming to me for as a cause. I have the deepest interest in them as the place where God will make himself known. That distinction makes brevity merciful. If they begin again with the tale, I am kind and final. That is enough. If they write another long letter, I return it with a note. Give me your first sentence. If they linger on the telephone, I say, good, or I have it, and the receiver is on the hook. Do not be afraid to be this clean. When rules are known in advance, no one is offended, and when presence acts, no one remembers who kept the clock. Fifth, do not entertain social visits with the dream. If a student enters my home, we do not discuss symptoms over tea. We sit until the room is quiet. And then, if conversation appears, it is born in the hush. Do not believe you are rude if you do this. You are guarding the altar. Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things, but one thing is needful. Mary chose the one thing she sat. Choose the one thing. Refuse the compulsion to be pleasant at the price of presence. There will be times for stories and laughter, clean, light, without weight, but not as a strategy to charm the mesmerism out of the room. Mesmerism is not charmed. It is unmasked and dismissed as nothing. Let me make this practical for your day. You glance at the headlines. You do not feast there. 3 minutes. Close the paper. Shut the door. Sit. A message arrives. Red and urgent. You do not pace the hall. Read the first line. Sit. A neighbor breathes fire on your boundary. You do not compose a speech. Nod if you must. Retreat inwardly. Sit. Even with your own sensations. Throb, pinch, flutter. Do not collect data like stamps. Name it once as hypnotism, arm of flesh nothingness. Then cease naming and be still. If, during your sitting, the mind wants to practice, to rehearse, to fix, remember your first rules and bring yourself back. Brevity and silence. Be rash neither with mouth nor with mind. Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. The heart that hurries speaks in two powers. The heart that rests knows one. One more. Keep your tools few. Do not carry a satchel of affirmations to the door. One verse, perhaps, to steady you the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Or be still and know that I am God. Then let even that fall. Too much seasoning ruins the meal. The rule book is not for decoration. It is for use. 3 minutes. 1 sentence. Shut the door. Be still. Wait for God. If you will honor these simple posts, you will find your endurance increasing and your results becoming quiet and sure. Not because you have become clever, but because you have kept the door so presence, not story, fills the house. And when the hush settles, as it will, do not claim it. Give thanks within and carry on softly. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. Watch your door. Pray in silence. Do not enter the temptation to talk. In this way, the porter is trained, and the house remains God's. Now let us take the first and most common knock. The body shouts. This pain means danger, and it arrives with trumpets and flashing lights. It does not come as a whisper. It comes as a command. Now, 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 rushing you to believe that unless you act, speak, research, diagnose, you will be overtaken. You know that sound. The mind flings pictures on the wall, ambulances, hospital corridors, a calendar with ominous circles on it. Listen to me. Do not argue with that voice. Do not begin to say, but God is, but Spirit is, but I have read. The very impulse to answer is the bait. Stand porter. Refuse entry, not by debate, but by non-response. How? At once relocate the eye. Step back of the house. There is the body with its storm. Here am I. Witness. Label once only what is not. Universal hypnotism. Carnal mind. Arm of flesh nothingness. Say it within and say it cleanly, and then say no more. To say it is not to fight, it is to place. We lay the axe at the root by refusing cause to appearance. There is no second power to be subdued. There is only the roar of suggestion as suggestion. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, not because I can shout louder than the valley, but for thou art with me. Presence, not volume, not speed ends the pretense of danger. Do not count breaths. Do not choose a counterthought. You are not a mechanic at a bench. You are a sanctuary in which God is God. If one sentence is needed to steady the door, take a single verse and let it fall. Be still and know that I am God. Or, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Then end words. End thoughts. Sit. It may last 30 seconds. It may last 3 minutes. Stay until something in you unclenches of itself. Usually it feels like the breath finding you rather than you finding it. The shoulders sinking of their own accord. A quiet warmth appearing behind the sternum. Or nothing you can name except that the command to panic is no longer in the room. That is the sign. Not fireworks, not voices, only the sense that the controversy has ended in you, and they rested in his word. I know this hour. I have had it many times. One night the leg seized as if a wire had been pulled taut from hip to heel, and the old picture album flew open to a page labeled Sciatica Long Siege. I reached for the album, and then I remembered the door. Back of the house, not an anatomy to study, not a condition to conquer, universal mesmerism, arm of flesh nothingness. Those words once, then silence. The mind made one last effort to bargain, at least stretch, at least rub, at least call someone, and I would not bargain. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. I stood, not with muscles, but in eye. A small hush drew round the leg like a shawl, and the wire loosened without my help. I do not promise timelines, I promise God. The next morning I walked 3 blocks and thought no more about sciatica, because there was no sciatica to think about. There had been a knock and a dismissal. The lesson was not a leg. The lesson was the porter. Understand this. Fear in the body is never your private possession. It is never your shame. It is not evidence against your spirituality. It is the weather pattern of the universal dream sweeping the street. Do not condemn yourself. Do not confess to it as identity. Neither excuse nor accuse. Neither do I condemn thee. Refuse to host it. Return to your post. The image will attempt to grow teeth by demanding your explanation. Why now? What triggered it? How long will it last? And if you enter that parlor, you will be serving tea to mesmerism all afternoon. Keep the door. A single naming, then the hush. You will be tempted to test the body. Is it gone yet? And thus set up a measuring contest between 2 powers. Do not test, do not check. When the release has quietly indicated itself, drop the topic and rest. Place the matter behind you as if it had never arrived. If speech is required from you, keep it brief, neutral, and kind, but do not go to market with the story. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Let salvation be light, not gossip. Go about your errands softly. Presence has acted. Leave it to act. There will be occasions when the hush does not come on the first sitting. Do not be heroic. Sit again in an hour, for 1 minute, for 2. Each sitting is a refusal to merge with the drama. Each sitting trains the room to recognize its owner. This is the porter's simplicity. Frequent, brief, pure, no ritual, no timetable, no magic word, only fidelity to one. The fear will return, sometimes with new costumes. Recognize the seamstress. The moment you catch yourself rehearsing, stop, back of the house. One naming, silence, wait. It is the waiting that terrifies the personal mind, because waiting admits it has no power. Good, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Let this be your drill. Fear knocks with a picture and a timetable. You do not argue. You step back. You name it as nothing once. You are still. You wait until the breath finds itself and the grip loosens. When it loosens, you do not enshrine the moment. You do not write a testimony before the ink is dry. You drop the subject and walk on in quietness. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Do not argue with bodily fear. Silently refuse entry and wait until presence dissolves it. Presence will. Presence does. And then you, the anonymous witness of God, keep the door for the next hour and the next, simple, severe, and merciful. Now the next knock comes, dressed in arithmetic and calendars and the low ache of being alone. There isn't enough. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough help, not enough love. It sounds so reasonable that even the saints have signed for the parcel at the door. Listen, this too is the same mesmeric template shortage parading as fact. Do not be flattered by its reasonableness. Lack is not your private failure. It is the old hypnotism tracing a familiar groove through the race mind. Do not make a confession of it. Do not wear it as a badge. Stand porter. How does it present? The due date circles itself on the calendar. The inbox stacks messages like bricks. The body, tired, says, you cannot do it. The family says, you stand alone. And at once the mind moves to manage, to juggle, to compute, to pit one finite pile against another finite pile, and to call that prudence. That is two powers playing chess. Need versus supply. Clock versus task. You versus the world. Refuse this premise before you pray. Refuse it before you count. Refuse it before you speak. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. If the earth is the Lord's, and if the Lord is one, where is the second power that can diminish the fullness? There is none. The barrier is only the belief that there are two. Stand back of the house. Place yourself where I am is prior to the scene. A single naming, then the hush. Say within, once. Not angrily, not wistfully. Universal hypnotism. Arm of flesh, nothingness. Not enough is not a cause. It is a suggestion. Lay the axe at the root by denying it cause. Then cease naming and be still. Do not begin a litany of God is my supply over and over. One verse, perhaps to steady the door. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory, and then let the words drop away. Spiritual healing is done without words and without thoughts. Sit and wait until the hush is felt. You will notice what happens in that hush. Pressure evaporates without a budget. The frantic arithmetic loses its voice. Often the sign is as simple as the breath dropping into the body. Sometimes there is a quiet joy without object. Stay until that is so. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The adding is not your department. The seeking is not a search. It is a stillness. And when the I is lifted up from the counting and the clutching into conscious oneness, I, if I be lifted up, shall draw all men unto me. Forms rearrange themselves. Time stretches, help appears, money moves. Not because you have lassoed it with thought, but because one governs and the hypnotism has been refused. I remember an evening when the figures scowled at me from the desk. Rent, tuition, the simple demands of living. The old reflex wanted to set up a campaign. Calls, letters, bargains. I shut the drawer. Back of the house. I have no interest whatsoever in the tale of numbers. As cause, arm of flesh, nothingness. One verse only. Be still and know that I am God. Then no words, no thoughts. The mind tried to make a list. I would not. Presently the room felt as if it had exhaled, and I could not find the pressure I had felt 5 minutes earlier. I slept. In the morning there was an unlooked-for settlement on a long-forgotten account, and, more quietly, an inward direction to reduce one activity I had been holding from duty, which freed the time I claimed I lacked. Was it the thought that did it? No. The thought had stopped. Presence acted. I, if I be lifted up. Do not misunderstand. You will still write a letter, return a call, adjust a task, but you will not do these as a petitioner at a hostile counter. You will do them as the anonymous witness moved by spirit. The action will be clean and brief. The tongue will not complain to the clerk. The email will be 1 paragraph, not 5. You will not sell your soul to buy a day. Take no thought for your life. Behold the fowls of the air. Your heavenly Father feedeth them. Take no thought does not mean take no action. It means refuse the second power that corrodes the heart, while your hands do their simple duty. Now, some will say, but my history proves lack. I have always been behind. Do not argue with history. Do not insult yourself with blame. Neither do I condemn thee. The 2nd chapter of Genesis can show you a world of sweat and thorns and earning bread by the brow. But it is the false creation, the dream. Return to the 1st chapter where fullness is fact and very good is the verdict. You will not talk yourself there. You will sit there until there is a knowing light, unvoiced, that God is on the field. Then move. Make this your drill. When the cry of not enough knocks, do not calculate. Glance once at the statement if you must. Shut the drawer. Sit. Name it as hypnotism, nothingness. 1 verse, then silence. Wait for the hush. When it comes, do not go to market with your testimony. Do the next right thing without drama. If you are led to give rather than grasp, do not be startled. Peter said, Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. Often the giving breaks the back of the belief in lack because it declares one, and sometimes the addition will be invisible to anyone but you. An hour that opens in the day, a quiet willingness of a friend, a bill that seems to pay itself. Do not trace it. Do not bow to the form. Give thanks within and keep the door. Keep it severe and gentle. Lack vanishes as the belief in two powers dissolves in realized. One, not your cleverness, not your industry, not your charm. One, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Stand porter until those words are not a thought in your head but a presence in your bones. Then the house fills without strain, and you go about softly, and the street outside may still rattle with shortages, but you do not take the dream home. Presence has acted. Leave it to act. Now the third knock is the sharpest and the most pious. It arrives with a briefcase of evidence and the flame of self-rightness. They wronged me. They are the cause. This voice never admits to being a guest. It presents itself as the rightful owner of the house. It points to texts, to emails, to memories that sting like nettles. It calls itself justice. Be very alert. This is the last defense of two powers, the most sanctimonious mask of the hypnotism. Me right, them wrong, my hurt, their guilt, two causes sparring in a ring. If you open to this, it will sit in your favorite chair and conduct a trial in your living room, and you will be both witness and executioner before the hour is done. Stand porter. How do you stand? First, withdraw judgment. Judge not, that ye be not judged. I know, you say, but this is not judgment. This is fact. No, it is the same dream demanding narrative rights. You do not condone a wrong. You simply refuse to join the courtroom in your own consciousness. Neither do I condemn thee. Does not mean I approve. It means I will not accept the premise that there are two powers here, one to be punished, one to be avenged. The moment you accept two, you have lost God as cause. You have enthroned a second cause, and from that seat, you will never find peace. Lay the axe at the root, back of the house. Do not argue your case to God. Do not prove your innocence. Do not recite the details of their offense. A single naming, once, and cleanly. Universal hypnotism. Accusation and defense, the arm of flesh. Nothingness. Say it and mean it. Then end words. End thoughts. Sit. If you must steady the door with one verse, let it be brief and final. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justifieth. Or, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. That is not a threat. It is a release of justice to God, where justice belongs. After that, silence. Spiritual healing is done without words and without thoughts. Now watch what attempts to happen. The mind will reach for a pen to write a letter, for a phone to make a call, for a speech to deliver in the mirror. It will want an audience for its hurt. Do not give it one. Close the drawer. Put the receiver down. Sit. The heat in the chest is the measure of two powers, refusing to yield. As you abide, it will rise, then ebb, then rise again like an old tide that has forgotten the moon. Let it. You are not corralling it. You are not suppressing it. You are not sainting yourself. You are sitting until God is on the field. Be still and know that I am God. When the hush comes, you will know the charge empties out of itself. There is a sense light, unvoiced, that the matter has been taken from your hands, and your hands are glad to let it go. Christ's identity must be seen here, not Christ as a theory, but as the eye that stands where accuser and accused seem to stand. If I am back of the house as witness, The one out there and the one in here are both figures in the second chapter of Genesis, costumes in a dream. The first chapter knows only, let us make man in our image. Not guilty, not aggrieved, but God expressing. To the extent that you can accept that Christ stands where you thought a culprit stood and where you thought a victim stood, the trial collapses for want of parties. He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone. You will not find such a one in humanhood. You will find innocence only in I, and in the recognition that carnal mind, which trots out the whole gallery of sins and hurts, is nothingness. I remember a day when a letter came, long and cutting, misrepresenting a talk I had given and assigning motives to my heart that were not there. The first movement was noble anger. The second was a brilliant 4-page defense writing itself in my head. The third, thank God, was the rule book remembered. Back of the house. I have no interest whatsoever in what they are coming to me for as cause. I have the deepest interest in the place where God will make himself known. Universal hypnotism, accusation, and defense, the arm of flesh, nothingness. One verse, nothing more. It is God that justifieth. Then no words. The heat ran its course. The jaw unclenched of itself. The need to be seen as right lost its voice. In the hush there was a quiet directive. One paragraph, kind and brief, no argument, and then close the matter. I did so. Weeks later, the writer apologized without prompting. It would have been a victory either way, for the victory was not their apology, but the end of two powers in me. Do not deceive yourself with a refined version of blame that dresses itself as prayer. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, muttered. Why you keep the ledger? If they know not what they do, then you know what you are doing. When you keep the ledger, you are feeding the hypnotism. Forgive means release. Release them to God. Release the scene to God. Release yourself from the courtroom you built. If an action is required by law or conscience, let it be born after the hush, clean, brief, without venom. One paragraph, one call, then silence. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. This is your drill. When blame knocks with heat and proof, refuse its flattery. Step back. Name it once as impersonal mesmerism, the last defense of two powers, nothingness. Choose one verse, if needed, then let even that fall. Sit until the charge empties, until presence is the only heat left, a warmth without an enemy. When the hush comes, do not testify to your righteousness. Do the next right thing without drama, or do nothing at all, and let God move the furniture you could never lift. And they rested in his word. Blame is the last defense of two powers. Release it into nothingness, and rest in one. In that rest, the Christ stands where the quarrel stood, and the house, kept for God, is quiet again. After the knock and after the dismissal, do not leap up. Do not rush on to the next task, congratulating yourself for your good technique. If you stop at dismissal, you have only barred the door. You have not yet let the owner of the house fill it. The porter is not a bouncer. The porter is a sentinel who keeps the threshold free so presence can come in and govern. Stay, sit, do nothing now, but abide. Spiritual healing is done without words and without thoughts. This is that hour in which those words either become your life or are proved to have been only a sentence you enjoyed. Be still and know that I am God. Know it, not say it. The saying steadies you for a moment. The knowing is the event. What are you waiting for? Not a picture, not a promise, not a sensation you can manipulate. You are waiting for the hush that indicates that the noise of two powers has exhausted itself and that one is consciously present. Do not attempt to manufacture this hush. Do not dim the lights to induce it, or play with your breath as if it were a lever on a machine. We do not descend into belief and call it presence. We do not ascend through argument and call it realization. We sit, naked of method, having laid the axe at the root, and we do not move until something not ours has replaced the last echo of the knock. There are marks you will come to recognize, and they are humble. Often it is a breath that seems to find you of its own accord, as though some inner hand had loosened the garment around your ribs and said, "Enough." Often it is a hush that settles in the room and within you alike, the sense that even the pictures on the wall have stopped whispering. At times there is a warmth in the chest with no object, no romance, no memory attached to it, just warmth that comforts without explaining. Sometimes it is clarity without content, a light that illuminates nothing in particular because it is not about things, it is about presence. These are signs, not to be chased, not to be collected. Simply recognized as you would recognize dawn without setting an alarm to pull the sun up. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Remember the agency. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me does not mean my brilliant ideas have struck gold. It means the agency is spirit. The movement is God. The healing is the descent of presence. When the hush comes, do not congratulate yourself. Better yet, forget yourself. Let the I that was keeping watch subside into the I that is God being. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. That is not poetry. It is process. You will know this has happened when there is no more need to help God along. The matter has gone out of your hands as a bird knows when the air has taken it. There will be occasions, many of them, when there is no conscious sign at all. You will sit faithful, emptied of words, and rise with no shawl of warmth around your shoulders, no deep sigh, no sweet assurance, only an honest silence. Do not be deceived by that plainness. Do not run back to techniques to console yourself. If you have truly refused the second power and consented to nothingness as nothingness, the lifting of mesmerism may not carry applause with it. I, if I be lifted up, shall draw all men unto me. If I be lifted up, if this awareness of one has been raised in you, even an inch the drawing proceeds, whether your senses applaud or not. I have known nights when I sat with a name on the table and there was no glow, no sign, and in the morning there was a letter. It is broken. It is well. What did I do? Nothing. Who acted? Presence. Do not mistake time for fidelity. The personal mind will say, I have waited 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Surely God has had enough time to work. God is not in your minute hand. Fidelity is not measured by the clock. Fidelity is measured by whether you remained until either the hush came or your honest best was offered. Sometimes the true act of faith is to rise without a feeling and refuse to pick at the matter with your thoughts all day. Sometimes the faith is to remain 1 minute longer when every fiber would rather write an email. Ask within, quietly, is there yet a word? If there is none, then let there be none. And they rested in his word. Rest, not in a speech, but in the absence of necessity to speak. Be watchful here for the most subtle temptation of all, to check the result. You will be lured to open the door and peek, to call and ask, to prod the seed in the ground and see if it has sprouted. That is to reintroduce a second power, the power of result, to validate your God. Do not do it. If action is genuinely required, truly required, it will arise after the hush as clean instruction, brief and unheeded. Peter and John did not survey the beggar to weigh percentages. They said simply and without strain, "Such as I have, give I thee." And they moved on. Let your movements be like that. Light, authority, without push. I will tell you plainly, because you must know the seriousness of this. The spell is not broken by your sentences. The spell is not broken by your sincerity. The spell is broken when God is on the field. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. See it, do not imagine it, do not dramatize it, do not claim it with clenched fists. See it because you stood still long enough for seeing to replace looking. When that happens, forms conform without your design. The phone rings with a word you could not force. The body behaves without your policing. The quarrel ends without your argument. Or nothing visible happens at all, but you are free. And what was a chain now clinks on an empty floor. Make it concrete. After the knock and the clean dismissal, sit, close the eyes if you wish, open them if you wish, say nothing, think nothing on purpose. If the mind tosses up a scripture, let it steady you once, and then let it drop like a tool laid aside after a job has been begun. Wait for the owner. When the deep breath comes unbidden, receive it. When the hush covers the house, honor it. When there is no sign, honor that too. By refusing to dig in the earth for shoots, rise and go about softly. Do not take the dream home from the street by rehearsing it. Do not turn a sign into a story. Keep the door for the next hour. Stay until the hush of presence is felt. And if it is not felt, stay as long as truth keeps you, and then go quiet, without drama, trusting one. Only God's presence breaks the spell. Only the Spirit of the Lord God upon you turns water into wine, fear into silence, lack into sufficiency, blame into release. Hold your post after the knock has faded. Let the Holy One, without your words and without your thoughts, take the empty chair at the center. And in that taking, all chairs find their places. Now we walk. The room is quiet. The hush has been felt or honestly sought. But the street will test you with its theater. Do not be surprised. The work now is not to create a new silence, but to refuse to spend it. Treat the world's show exactly as you treated the knock. Impersonal, hypnotic suggestion, nothingness met from the back of the house, not from the front row of the parade. We look not at the things which are seen, for the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Keep your eyes where eternity is, even while the feet cross the intersection. Try it as a simple experiment. Close your eyes this instant and picture a street, horns, a cry, a small collision, a crowd gathering, the policeman's whistle, the urgency, all of it so vivid that your breath shortens as if you were there. Now open your eyes. Where is it? It is gone. The entire catastrophe has been discovered to be a dream picture with no substance in the present. Memory of it can be recalled, but the event itself is nowhere. What ended it? Awakening ended it. Not argument, not bravery, not analysis. Awakening. Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. So with appearances, they announce themselves with volume. They fade in the light of awareness. Your task is not to wrestle the picture. Your task is to remain awake. Therefore, when the headline shouts its fear at you from a screen or a newsstand, receive it at the door with silence, not with debate. Say within, once, if needed, to keep the post. Universal hypnotism, arm of flesh, nothingness. Then endwards. Do not scroll for a second. Power to fear or to fix. Move on. If the hands must perform some duty of citizenship or compassion, let that instruction come after a breath that is not yours. Short engagements, quick returns to stillness. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. And they rested in his word. When a symptom speaks in the body as you walk an ache, a flutter, the old familiar twinge, do not rush home to fetch a mirror and a theory. You have a porter with you. The symptom is a knock. Nothing personal, nothing causal. Name it once as appearance, then refuse a second look. Keep the step soft and the face plain. You are not denying. You are declining to enthrone a second power. When there is a place to sit, sit. When there is work to do it gently. Take no thought. Presence governs the organism, even as you refuse to police it with thoughts. And when gossip comes, oh, this is a street vendor that never seems to close. Do not buy a bag of it and take it home for supper. If a colleague begins the tale, let your reply be one clean sentence, kind and brief, or a change of subject born of no superiority. Inside, say, neither do I condemn thee, and return your gaze to one. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. You will feel the body relax when you refrain from the feast of blame. You will feel the mind hungry for the old spice. Let it hunger and pass. In the passing, strength returns. Minimal contact, maximal presence. That is the rhythm. A 3-minute call instead of 30. A 1-paragraph answer instead of a manifesto. A nod to the passing storm without inviting it into the parlor. The point is not withdrawal. The point is guardianship. You are keeping the house lighted by not filling it with newspaper clippings and postmortems. And they rested in his word is not idleness. It is poise. From that rest, a sentence may be spoken that helps. A hand may be given that steadies. Then the hand returns to the side, and the heart returns to silence. So walk the street as one who knows the difference between a dream and a dwelling. Let the world's scenes pass before your eyes as clouds pass before the sun. Do not chase them, do not curse them, do not collect them. Keep watch without tension. The porter is at the door. The owner fills the house. And because one is power, the show is free to end without your verdict, and you are free to go home empty-handed of it, rich with quiet, and ready for the next hour. We do not advertise results. We witness them, and even then we do not make a shrine out of them. These signs shall follow them that believe. Yes, they follow. They do not lead. They attend presence. They do not announce it. Keep it like that. One practice, many signs, but the practice remains one. The axe at the root, the silence that is not empty, the refusal of 2 powers before 1 word is said. You want a sign? I give you this, and I give it lightly. The telephone rang 3 minutes. That is the law of my house, not out of coldness, but to keep the house for God. A mother spoke fast, as mothers do when fear is in the room. A fever, a child who would not settle. I said as little as kept courtesy intact. Yes, I have it. No questions, no probing for symptoms. The arm of flesh, nothingness. We ended the call at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Back of the house. No words, no thoughts. Be still and know that I am God. Then even that dropped. There was a hush. The breath found me. Nothing more. I went on with my evening. An hour later, a message came. The fever had broken. The child was asleep. What did I do? Nothing. Who acted? Presence. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Hold it lightly. Do not squeeze it for proof. Honor the principle by refusing to turn it into a trophy. Another day, a man asked for help with a pain that had set up a little throne in his back. He had been to wise men and to kind men and to men with machines. He wanted a treatment. I wanted God. I said, I have no interest whatsoever in the pain as cause. Universal hypnotism, second power, nothingness. One verse is a doorstop only. I am the Lord that healeth thee. Then no verse, no thought, no hope, but God on the field. The hush came, not heat, not ecstasy, only the sense that the room had become honest. We never spoke again of the back. Weeks later he wrote, puzzled, almost offended by joy. The back is fine, but something stranger happened. The fear I had over a long debt just vanished. By morning I had the letter that settled it. Do you see? Attend the root, and branches clear themselves, whether pain or paper. I, if I be lifted up, shall draw all men unto me. Not draw the one item you circled in red, but draw all into alignment, because one is acting and the second creation is not consulted. Do not mistake what I am doing by telling you this. I am not persuading your mind to adopt a brighter religion. I am giving honor to the principle by refusing to make drama of its signs. Jesus often charged them that they should tell no man, not because good news is forbidden, but because personality loves to stand in front of the temple gate and announce its donations. We will not do it. No fanfare. No souvenirs. If a story helps you keep the door, keep the story, as you would keep a nail in your pocket, useful when needed, otherwise unmentioned. He shall not strive, nor cry. Neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. Keep your protocols. 3-minute calls, 1-paragraph notes, then silence, so that when signs follow, they have no place to inflate. If you are led to share a sign, share it once and move on. If you are led to say nothing and move on. The point is not attention, the point is presence. And when outcomes arrive, and they will, in ways you could not script, receive them as you receive the dawn. You do not clap the sun. You stand in its light and you are grateful without speech. And they rested in his word. That is our posture. That is our proof. So let it be one practice and many signs. Lay the axe at the root. Refuse 2 powers. Stand back of the house. Be still until God is on the field. Then walk softly. Let the forms recompose themselves without your verdict. When the root is met as nothingness and presence is realized, outcomes follow without fanfare. You need not add trumpets to the hush. Keep the door. Let God fill the house. Keep the door. That is the word with which I would leave you. Stand porter at the door of thought and permit nothing false to cross the threshold. No report of 2 powers. No flattery of personal good. No theatrics of personal evil. All discord is impersonal mesmerism, the arm of flesh, nothingness. The temptation will always be to make something of it, to reason with it, to hate it or heal it. Do not lay the axe at the root. Refuse the second power before you pray. Be the eye behind the eyes, the witness seated at the back of the house, and let presence, not your sentences, act. Be still and know that I am God. Not know an idea of God, know God. Make it plain and keep it daily. Morning and evening, take your post. 3 knocks, 3 refusals. If fear arises in the body, do not argue. Name it once as universal hypnotism, nothingness, and let even that naming fall. No words, no thoughts. Abide until the hush finds you. If the cry of lack comes to bargain for attention, stand in one power. Decline the ledger of two. If a verse is needed to steady the door, let it be brief. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. And then end words. Abide. If the voice of blame rings its bell with facts and flame, refuse the courtroom. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? Say it once and be done. Sit until the heat has no adversary to feed on, and presence alone is warmth. This is your drill, short, clean, faithful. What I say unto you, I say unto all. Watch. Do not measure this by applause or minute hand. Your fidelity is the keeping of the door, not the counting of results. I have no interest whatsoever in your demonstrations as trophies. I have one interest only, that God be God in your house. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Leave it there. Close the door. Be still. If action is required, it will be given after the hush brief. Unheeded, sufficient. If no action is given, rest, and let Christ be the doer. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. So I leave you with a simple charge and a quiet blessing. Keep the door. Let nothing false in. Refuse two powers. Stand back of the house as the witnessing. I dismiss in silence. Abide until presence fills the house. And when it does, and it will, walk softly, speak little, judge nothing. One power, one presence, one life. And they rested in his word. Peace be unto you.